The day will come when these measures are no longer needed. Until then, however, we must ensure that all our people receive adequate support. We look ahead to a better future. I have faith in the strength and the resilience of ordinary South Africans who have proven time and time again throughout our history that they can rise to any challenge that is presented to our country. We shall recover. We shall overcome. Wow, wow, wow. Get here for yourselves. Tonight we are serenading in the midst of a beautiful, beautiful sound, beautiful music. Your host is Maponga J on your program Sankota, looking backwards at the future and having some moments of serenading music and all that jazz and all that beautiful music, reflections from the past into the present. I don't have a better guest for you today, but the most prolific trumpet player that we have on the South African continent and the greater African continent and beyond. A great admirer of mine. I was saying to myself the other day, if I could play 3 notes of what he plays, man, I'll be very far from here. Well, I took some few lessons with him, and we continuously play in some church activities here and there. I'm a difficult student, of course. I'm not as committed, but he's got the discipline, he's got the experience, and Prince Lengoasa himself. And we'll have a chance of looking through his history, his background and his history, and we want to celebrate him when he's still alive. And I want to tell you, in your life, when you're still alive, that your contribution has been immense. Your contribution has been astounding. Your contribution has been beautiful. And some of us, we are what we are today because of what you are. Greet the audience at home there and tell them, who is Prince Lengoasa?
Well, thank you very much for that beautiful introduction. It's almost like you're not speaking about me, you know. And yeah, it's really a great privilege to be here. I am Putlane Timothy Prince Trevor Lengoasa. I guess my parents were very excited to have.
They gave you a whole paragraph.
A whole paragraph of names. And the thing about names is that each name has its own personality.
Yeah.
So I could be 4 different personalities. Who knows, you know? But yeah. Putlane Timothy, those are my grandfather's names, and then Prince is my dad's friend, Tatu Prince Teta from who's in Kwatema now.
Okay.
And Trevor, well, I'm lucky because I didn't get the whole shebang, you know, because I went to school with somebody whose name was Trevor Huddleston Kutumela. Now I'm only Trevor, but also named after Huddleston, who was the you know, Archbishop or Bishop Father Huddleston, who was the principal at St. Peter's, the school where Brahu went to, where Jonas Gwangwa went to. My dad went to the school, and he was classmates with people like the late Stella Stau, Utatu, David Pitwe, you know. So yeah, it was a school where a lot of people were developed, and my dad's musical career started there, but we're talking about...
So your father is a musician, actually?
Oh, yes, he's a musician. Bless his soul. He's just passed on now on Good Friday, you know. But at 86, he had good innings, and his contribution can be measured through me, my brothers, and others around.
Your brother is a trumpeter also?
He's a trombonist, a euphonium player.
Okay.
But more than that, he's a climatologist, you know. He was Deputy General Secretary of the WMO for 12 years. And yeah, but those are some of the fruit that have come out of
I don't want to talk too much today. I just want you to walk us through your greater experiences from the time past and take us through from the time you started your music. We'll go through the 1976 eras and the whole, you know, short story of what was happening during the struggle to where we are now. We just want to celebrate your life, and basically this is your show. I would want to hear you talk about yourself as much as possible. This goes into archive from the man himself.
Yes, sir.
So when did you start playing the trumpet, roughly?
Well, I started playing cornet when I was 6. This is 1968, when the big song was Yakali Khomo. Little did I know.
Yakali Khomo.
Yeah, little did I know that one day I would stand with that man on stage and play that tune.
My word.
But yeah, I started when I was 6, reading music.
68?
In 1968.
I was born 69.
Well.
Yeah.
Well,
it was the year after.
That 7-year period has worked greatly for you in many ways. You know? Yeah, so you know, I started then at 6 playing the cornet, and they used to make me stand on chairs to conduct other brass bands and things like that. I grew up in the Salvation Army, which is, where...
Very much disciplined in terms of...
a lot of discipline about playing, about reading music, making sure that you follow the rudiments correctly, so that, when you accompany a song, wherever it is, it stays the same way, And it's really been great grounding. Took lessons from different people, and this was in Kimberley, where my parents were stationed, And
your father is a minister?
Yes.
He was a minister?
Yeah, he was a minister. And he traveled.
So you are a PK?
Over. That's what they say, BK,
pastor's kid.
In our church, we call them OKs, which is officer's kid. But
okay.
The officer and pastor is the same WhatsApp group, you know. And I grew up in the church, used to play duets with my brother, playing cornet and him playing euphonium. But when we were younger, we played cornet together, so we did cornet duets. And so my journey began, in Kimberley. We came to Joburg in 1972, continued, played with brass bands at the Soweto Central Corps. And I remember I was wearing my jersey. It was a long gazette. I was young, the youngest person in the band at the time. There were visitors from Zimbabwe. And the interesting thing is that when they came out of the Kumbi, they were saying, welcome, welcome. But they had visitors. They were our visitors. And I played in the band. And when I sat down, I wore this long jersey, and it closed my pants. So some people thought I was a girl. But when I stood up, like, oh, okay.
Oh, it's a boy. It's a boy.
Anyway, I was 10, 11 around the time.
Okay.
And so I went to Doke House as well.
Doke House is still in town?
Yes, Doke House is still there in town, though it's, one of those places that have become a monument to the great history that we have. A lot of people went to, I met Mugale at...
Kwapeng Mugale.
Mugale Kwapeng at Doke House. And he became my accompanist at some stage.
Mugale is on the piano.
On the piano, we played... I played a solo. He was an accompanist at the DOCC in one of the concerts. This is a long story, but we have time, right? Yeah, we have time. And so I got, introduced to jazz much later in life, because I know that from 72 to 73, we lived in Pimville. And then
Pimville is in Soweto.
In Soweto, yes. And then we moved to Mamelodi in 74 to 78, which is where, my music started growing, being introduced to John Coltrane and Pharoah Sanders and Miles Davis by a gentleman who lived not far from the church.
And those days, the Sundays used to be a boom. Sundays, then you find all these guys dressed up in their clean shoes. And
Sundays were a day of celebration. You think about it.
In the midst of the struggle.
In the midst of the struggle. And to come to think about it, Sunday was like the only time that people really had to themselves in preparation for going back to work tomorrow. They would go out on these strolls with their girlfriends or wives in the afternoon. But in the morning, the guys in Pretoria would be listening to the jazz and polishing their shoes. But as they say.
Boning the shoes.
Boning the shoes. And they would come out then in the afternoon, go and, hang out.
The influence of Dixie, the influence of New York City and the bebop days and was felt across.
The dress code was American, you know. And I know growing up in Mamelodi, they used to go to American showroom on Commissioner Street to buy these clothes, that made them, they call them Mayenke, which is Yankees, the American way of dressing, American showroom was further down, but there was Monsieur on Commissioner Street. And the Pretoria guys were into fashion, and they would go to Marabastad to get their records, and also come to Koyino.
Turn-ups and Caravella shoes, and
turn-ups, Flosham shoes, non-bush, all those things. And they had to have, your pants were supposed to be a left pin. Oh man, crazy things.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah. But amongst the people that I got to meet in...
Who was one of the influences at that era who could have been of a great influence to you?
Well, in terms of influence...
Because you still dress sharp. Now that you say it, I'm saying now that you say it, it makes sense. It makes sense. I never understood why you were always with these black and white shoes, two-tone.
No, it's the influence of the time. You know, there were hotmans like I said, Jeff Mpagati, who was who worked for the American embassy, and his house was really the mecca in Mamelodi. It was the mecca of jazz because he had paintings, he had books, he had records, LPs, man.
Hold it right there. We are with Jeff at the mecca of jazz in Mamelodi. My guest today, Prince Lengoasa, some call him Prince, but commonly known in the music industry as Prince Lengoasa, our famous jazz
trumpet
player in South Africa here. We'll be back right after the break.
Hello. Being a legal practitioner in South Africa in these challenging times demands lawyers that will help clients beyond legal issues. The ever-changing demands in commerce and tourism require lawyers who have sound and clear business and commercial knowledge, and that's where MB Chabangu Incorporated comes in. Our business, mining, tourism, health, labor, and economic knowledge encapsulated with law and litigation experience gives us an advantage in the legal sphere. Our experience in assisting businesses, government, and various industries with their needs puts us amongst the many progressive and striving law firms in South Africa. Now, to contact our attorneys for assistance with any of the mentioned fields and others, please call us on 012-341-4187 or send us an email on admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated, where problems meet solutions.
If it is well organized.
And it was a concert to raise funds for the ANC at Orlando Stadium.
We would want to pick up some of those things.
Yeah.
Are we good to go?
Hello.
God is so amazing.
Feel the heat.
The Bible says that through his death on the cross, we are now reconciled with our Father.
Forgive and you shall be forgiven.
So wherever God takes us, we're just excited about it.
As a child of God, where you are, you must have an hour of prayer.
Feel the excitement.
In the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus.
I believe that God is working right now.
Feel the heat with Starsat. Feel the heat.
You said you love me.
I do.
You sure?
Yeah.
Leave Miles Line and go.
Oh, no, you don't. Get out of my way. Get out.
That is an abomination.
Oh, the love you promised me.
Do you have a boyfriend? Yeah?
Feel the excitement.
You don't know how I've been longing for this.
Feel the heat with...
Welcome back, welcome one here on your Sankota program with our guest today, Prince Lengoasa, the trumpet player here from Southern Africa. And we just want to have a nature walk with him and take us through some of the experiences that you're sharing us from Mamelodi. Where do you find yourself next from there?
Well, from Mamelodi, we went back to Soweto. I lived in White City, Jabavu, which is where I did my matric in 79 and 80. And at the time also, going to Doke House and finding my playing in different circles, But a lot of what I was doing then was within the church. But going back a little bit to the Mamelodi experience was that I got introduced to the music of Hugh Masekela by some of the guys, the boys are doing it. And I took an interest in that music, started practicing some of it, learning some of the lines, So that from the 70s, really, Hugh became one of my influences.
Right.
Yes, I listened to a lot of Miles Davis, Louis Armstrong. The music of Hugh Masekela really resonated with my spirit because he spoke to the issues of the day. And so picking it up in Soweto in the
Was
matric
that
years.
there's a Funda or Fundi or whatever? I can't remember the name there.
Funda Center came much later, in the 80s though, and also what is this place in Newtown? Funda was in is in Soweto, right? It came much later, but in 87 I was introduced. In 86 actually, I was introduced to Victor Ntoni.
Victor Ntoni, the famous
conductor and arranger.
I saw you the other time doing a concert with him in Pretoria.
Yeah.
Yes, I was there.
Okay.
I was sitting with Ngobile and the rest of them, and you were on the brass there.
Yeah, Pravik became one of the people that took me under his wing. In that when I was introduced to him in '86, we were doing a show at the Market Theatre, which was my first time at the Market Theatre in '86. And Thabo Mashishi is the guy who was responsible for introducing me to that. They were recording in South Africa at Commissioner Street, SABC. And the following year, I was part of the big band, Culling Circle of Jazz, in the trumpet section with Brastompi, who went to school with my father.
Manana.
Yeah, he went to school with my father.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Brastompi is what now? 84, 83, 84. Yeah, he's born 35. So, yeah, he's actually 85. And
is he still blowing?
Oh, he's still blowing.
Okay. Because we meet at a common place. I cannot. This interview cannot finish.
Yeah.
Before I also mention one of my grand teachers, the old man himself, Ubra B. Ubra Banzi.
The man.
Kwatema.
Oh yeah.
What was your experience with him, if you remember?
Well, my experience with Brabanzi was, it's one of the people that I looked up to. And in terms of his playing and his contribution to jazz, because people like Hugh Masekela come from out of his hands, so that there's a link there. And during Mandela's 80th, President Mandela's 80th birthday, which also was his wedding celebration, we were in a big band.
Yes, there was a whole big brass thing.
There was a very big gathering not far from here, Galaga Estate.
Just across the road.
Yeah. And so I was part of the big band that was put together, which was really the jazz pioneers with, a younger section.
Yeah, like the connection between the old and the young.
Between the old and the young. And in the trumpet section, I did the lead. And there was Brastompi, there was Dennis Mpale, and Brabi. I mean, I could have chosen to be.
He loved his Iwawa.
The man with the plunger.
Yeah, man.
He was an amazing.
He would sting that thing. And I mean, I was in one of the churches in Springs, Kwatema,
yeah.
And those days I used to play the small little harmonica there.
Yeah.
And I come in from Swaziland and I find this old man, and he plays. What a friend. And he's got his plunger in there. Man, something happened in my system. And I looked around and said, who is learning from this old man?
Yeah.
I mean, he was already late, quite senior in his days.
Yeah.
And to actually look around the church and no one was doing it. That weekend, I'm not lying, Malume, I bought 2 trumpets.
Yes.
I bought 2.
Wow.
And I would drive from Swaziland, from Durban, to come and take lessons from him. And I'm glad. I was one of the last bonds when it comes to the
trumpet, the plunger thing. Yeah. Brabi, in fact, very recently, I went to his house.
You told me the other day, yes. Yeah.
I went to his house to see the family and conduct an interview with my supervisor about his life. And, there's a dictionary or an encyclopedia being done on South African jazz players. Okay. So we had to verify some information and make sure. And I took my horn with, and I played What a Friend,
Man.
And
the old ladies you find?
Oh yeah, they're
old now.
Oh man,
I met them on one of the funerals a few days ago when I went past. But I think I owe them a good visit.
Yeah, they were blown away and were like, man, you just reminded us of Utata and the way you played the plunger.
But she used to chase us away from the house when we were there. She would say, go to the back, because once he starts with his horn, the whole house would be messed up. And a small little temple, of course.
Sure.
So we would end up at the backyard there. That's where we were doing our small little rehearsals and stuff like that. But some of the artists that you could have played with, before getting to the more philosophical side, some of the artists that you've played with, some of the outstanding concerts that you remember you participated on?
I played with so many people. Sibongile Khumalo.
I remember the market.
The
market.
Live at the Market is one of the, which became one of no, it was Themba Mkhize on the piano. And there was, am I going to get this wrong now? Hebi Tswaedi on the bass. And Kaya Mahlangu. Oh, I love playing with Brakaya.
On the alto.
On the tenor saxophone and the flute. And he taught me so much about blending and, breathing together, playing together. It's always such a pleasure to play.
I've not had a chance of working with Kaya, but I think we'll find each other.
Yeah, no, definitely.
We'll find each other
in due course.
Yeah.
I hope he's well, though, because I'd heard he was not well, he was in hospital, and that I actually sent him a message, but he never responded, which is also something that we need to work on. But I also worked with McCoy Mkhubata for a good 14, 15 years.
I worked with the younger brother, Makosonke.
On
the trumpet
the
also.
bishop.
Yeah.
Bishop to bishop now.
Would come around and the imbocha.
Yes. That reminds me of an uncle of mine, Mishak, who used to play trumpet. And when I played, he was like, yeah, man, he used to do this, emboucher, man. Yeah, emboucher. I'm like, hey, Rangwane, you an emboucher. But he was a mean trumpet player, man. The people from Springs, when you think about it, a lot of great trumpeters come.
We would have made a mess if we don't mention Mekwa.
Oh, yeah.
We would have made
Johnny
a mess.
Is one of
Let's
those
go to Johnny Mekwa there.
Yeah, Johnny, we played together in the big bands with, before he went to college at Natal, in one of Victor Ntoni's big bands. I think we did Sun City together. One night, Journey Through Jazz. And in the trumpet section was...
jazz player, that old man.
Man, Johnny Mekwa, there was Charlie Sayers, beautiful trumpet and flugelhorn player. Old man now. He's nearing his 90s. Huh?
Wow.
And myself, and I think there was George Chefumani. And I think there were 5 trumpet players on this one, and also Thabo Mashishi. So, yeah, it was, there are lots of great shows that one has been involved in. But I also delved into conducting, and I've conducted some of the finest musicians under the sun.
Take me through your Alexander brass band. I remember at one time you were running into Alex, training some young boys there on brass bands.
There was the Alexander brass band, but also the Saraba big band. The Alexander brass band I got involved with Kondri Zikubu.
Yes.
Did a number of recordings, played, some great stuff. I used to train a brass band out of Alexander from Mega Music. And one of the things that we did is a concert. Well, yeah, it was a concert where Miriam Makeba was around, but it was the visit of the French president, Jacques Chirac, at the time. He had come here, and we performed for him, and Mam Miriam was there speaking her French, and she started off saying, I speak very broken French, and the president was like, no broken French like that. That's really the language perfect, And they went on and that. But talking about Mam Miriam, who used to want to be called Sis Miriam, is when she came back from exile. I was part of the band that did 2 nights at the Standard Bank Arena. I played in the in the horn section. I was a trumpeter in there. And I can remember distinctly how Masikela was like, man, you really play that horn, I was like, oh, thank you so much. He was there in the audience. And
wow, and how beautiful. Here you are at one time of your life, admiring and a senior artist.
Yeah.
And then one day, there he is now sitting down and listening to you play. And I know, as a musician, it puts you under some small little pressure. But,
absolutely does.
But a man must do what a man must do.
Hey. And he was like, yeah, man, this is where it is, And I really was very glad to hear those words of encouragement. And I've done a number of gigs with him. I was the copyist when he did the concert, the recording, his 60 recording. I was part of the, arranging what's name, but I was a copyist. Victor was one of the arrangers as well as Kaya. And we did some great work
So some of the works that you have done that are out there, I hear you mentioning the Market Theatre, Sibongile Khumalo, and I know personally you worked on some project with Dennis Mpale. Of course, we less the politics, but I have my own information, and you have also done some stuff with Moses Mulelekwa, and some of the works that you've done that are out there that people want to sample up and find out what you've done.
Well, I have a number of compositions out there. Yes, I did Live in the Market. There's Mbongo on it. I did a number of brass cup things with McCoy, and one of my songs is on there. Lala Sanolam or something like that, which was a dedication to his daughter who was killed in Eastern Cape, and I wrote that song, and it is on one of his records. I mean, I did a lot of stuff in the theatre with the late Walter Chakela, who became Nana Chakela as an honor by the Ghanaians to his contribution to writing. He was a great writer, playwright, poet, and a Pan-Africanist of note. And it's said that at the end of his life, the people that he had worked so hard for never really came through for him. But we buried him a few weeks ago at the end of May, I think it was, and Bra Walter made such a big contribution. So the opening tune that we did was Ballad for Nana. Walter Chakela. Yes.
I came in twice actually when you were at the Orbit. I visited you twice on your nights there when you were in your Orbit days. What was happening there?
Well, the Orbit was a great space. It's such a pity that these places get closed down because of lack of support. Whereas these are places where people are enriched, where they can come out after work and really relax and get enriched by
unwind. We still have our Sundays, but on Thursdays, that kind of thing.
Sure.
After the break, we want Tap Prince to take us through the liberation and how music contributed in terms of liberation of the South African community, and how art, particularly in the space of music and arrangements and plays, how and what was the contribution of this genre into the greater liberation of South Africa, not only South Africa, but Africa as a continent and beyond. What is the role of music in that space? After the break, we'll have a chance of having some ideas from him, picking up his mind as to the contribution of music in the liberation struggle of the African people. Don't go away. Back right after the break.
Feel the heat.
You said you love me. I do.
Sure.
Yeah. Leave Miles Fanny go. Oh no, you don't. Get out of my way. Get out.
That is an abomination.
Oh, the love you promised me. Do you have a boyfriend? Yeah?
Feel the excitement.
You don't know how I've been longing for this.
Feel the heat with Starsat.
Violence and sexual abuse against children has become a major social challenge during the COVID-19 lockdown. We appeal to adults, parents and caregivers to be kind towards children during this lockdown and beyond. Give children the space they need to engage with their reading and learning activities. Do not hit them. Do not yell at them. They are equally frustrated. We urge you to listen, support and help the children to survive the COVID-19 lockdown. Report immediately any incident of sexual abuse. The Department of Basic Education. Every child is a national asset.
China is saying that the latest outbreak is under control.
Feel the heat.
The cabinet has
Feel the heat.
You said you love me. I do.
Sure.
Yeah. Leave Miles Fanny go. Oh no, you don't. Get out of my way. Get out.
That is an abomination.
Oh, the love you promised me. Do you have a boyfriend? Yeah?
Feel the excitement.
You don't know how I've been longing for this.
Feel the heat.
Maponga J with you here still on the Sankota program with our guest of honor today, Prince Lengoasa, the famous trumpet player in the Southern Hemisphere here. Great protege. I'm a student. So there's no student who can ever be bigger than the teacher. Take us through. We're in 1976. Guns are blazing. Bombs. South Africa is on fire. And basically there's war. The kids in high school are turning tables upside down. The political era is boiling, right at its boiling point. The youth have said enough. No Africans, no what. Where does this find you?
Well, in 1976, we were stationed in Mamelodi, and the fire of 76 came a year later into Mamelodi on a serious note. We used to see this on television, which is the year that television came to South Africa. Well, at least in the township, we used to go to some person's home.
On the corner of the street there?
Yeah, to watch, at the Stollers who lived in B3, not far from where we were. But yeah, 76, I got to lose a friend who sat next to me on the bench, in class. He was hit with a tear gas canister during some of the raids that were happening in the township, and so the pain of losing someone and people going into exile, some people getting arrested into Robben Island. I have a brother who spent years on Robben Island, and in my matric years I studied with somebody who had come back from the island, So yeah, that experience was very close to me, and that. But the music also.
What role did music play in all this struggle? While cars are burning, schools are on fire, what do you hear in the air? Because Sophia Town, I didn't have enough time to go through Sophia Town. Also, maybe, but that's slightly another era.
Another era.
But still, the aura of people in oppression and how they express themselves through music and the arts genre.
Yeah.
How does music actually play a role into the liberation of the African people?
I mean, there are lots of songs that came out of that experience and that time, that people had to be singing. What
have we done?
What have we done? The cry from every quarter. I mean, the young people had had enough. And people were going into exile. There are songs that were composed. I know that Brahu did Soweto Blue, and one of the songs that really even now captures the spirit of 76, it was, of course, in my teen years growing up. I had just started high school, and I can remember I tell the story about how it was confusing to hear this white lady say, teaching us mathematics, wiskunde, and it's like the cardinal getal van 2 is 3, and it's like la kushishana. Now she's speaking Pedi, it's like, what language are we speaking here, and those are some of the experiences that one comes out of. School having to be closed because people are burning down shebins and bottle stores. I mean, young people had said enough is enough. And if you think about it, today people are complaining when the president says liquor stores have to be closed with immediate effect. And yet in 76, it was one of the things that were targeted.
The young people closed the liquor shops themselves.
Let's destroy these things because they don't hold a future for us. And maybe looking back now, people should be putting themselves in that space to say, how do liquor stores benefit
help
us?
In the community.
How do they help in the community? The cry from 76 has to come back to say, let's realign ourselves. I know earlier on I was looking at a funeral service or a virtual funeral service of Tom Mantata, who was one of the people who worked for the SACC, and he was part of the struggle from the 60s to the 70s with people like Professor Bani Pichane, even Steve Biko, and that. And the whole concept of black consciousness was started at that time, that we need to be conscious of who we are. We need to find our place and speak in one voice against the atrocities of the system, And we seem to have lost that.
the groove.
Yeah.
In your own world, as you are looking into this space, what role do you think music played? What role do you think music played in terms of the liberation of the South African community?
Music played a great role, in that a lot of the songs that were sung, the messages that came through were done even from outside. Out of exile, with Radio Freedom coming through, with people here. And this is the other thing. Sometimes we seem to think that the exiles did more than the insides. For a
I like that word.
Lack of a better word.
It's actually a better
the
word.
people who
did not go anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, you think of a person like Mankunku writing that song Yakalinkoma in 1968, which reverberated even
not
through.
To date,
it still speaks.
And Wakalinkomo, someone who might not know Zulu or Xhosa, what does it mean, Yakalinkomo?
It's the cry of the bellowing bull, and he was speaking about the sadness that the difficulties and the sadness that was brought about by the system. And he was saying enough is enough. Yakalinkomo, and the bull is now saying, hey,
the bull is at a tight, but they're poking it.
Yes,
death
so
now is
like
making its exit.
So that message of liberation, that message of saying we can fight and still be here. We don't have to all go to exile. Of course, Mankunku loved his mom so much. I'm told of a story where they were rehearsing for a show in Joburg, and the show was on Friday. He came in on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He said, I miss my mom. And he took the next train back to Cape Town. That's how much he loved his mom. So he couldn't have left this country with his mom here and going overseas. No, for him it was like, Umama. Oh, man.
I'm going to see my mom. Wow.
And that's some deep stories about some of the people who made a contribution. And then you have songs that were written by people in exile who were reflecting about coming back home, And later on, Brahu, I love Brahu, so I keep talking about him because also there's a study I'm doing about his life and times and his music.
I just got his book the other day, Still Grazing.
Oh, Still Grazing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I got a copy in 2004 when it came out, and his philosophy is about learning and teaching. He says, smile, laugh, love, work, play, but learn and teach. And I think it's one of the most important things that we need to take out of his legacy, to learn so that we can teach.
I remember you whispered outside of the studio, of course, one of the sessions that you had in Soweto, fundraising for the ANC. Because I know when people get in power sometimes, people easily forget
That's true.
how this vehicle ends up where it is. Because it's almost like the morning of liberation, and may his soul rest in peace, Tata Madiba, and his daughter also a few days ago. And when liberation comes up, we have this tendency of isolating heroes, and we package them there. And we forget that actually it was a collective teamwork that brings it. So people might forget. It's right now people in the ANC, the young boys born in 1985 and 1992, who are putting on the big ANC t-shirts. And they think they own ANC.
Right.
But they don't know that there are people who actually would contribute to go and play music in concerts to fundraise for the ANC itself, both locally and international.
Of course.
I mean, I look at the concerts that Mama Makeba did across the world. I look at Yuma Sekela running like a fugitive from Botswana to here telling people about South Africa and the oppressions of the Jonas Gwangwa and with my other favorite Mkhulu Simenya and Nabo Gogo, the wife Mbuli, Letambuli, and the list is endless. The list is endless. And you look around, South Africa is free, and you wonder, is it enough just to get a medal, small little medal, in Kara, whatever medal, and say, well, here is a medal to recognize your effort. I mean, I think by now we should have been talking about institutions. We should have been talking about houses of development named after these stalwarts, even in universities in terms of departments, for example, that at least immortalize their presence. Tell me about the concert in Soweto.
In the 90s, early 90s, I worked with Bayete And I came out of Durban, came to Joburg, and became part of the band.
They are saying, hold it right there. When you come back, we'll start on top of Bayete. Bayete. Who is running Bayete? Is that Jabu Kanyere?
It used to be.
We'll be back right after the break, and we are one of the big concerts that happened in Soweto there with Prince Lengoasa fundraising for the Greater ANC, which is African National Congress, just after the break.
Hello. Being a legal practitioner in South Africa in these challenging times demands lawyers that will help clients beyond legal issues. The ever-changing demands in commerce and tourism require lawyers who have sound and clear business and commercial knowledge. And that's where MB Chabangu Incorporated comes in. Our business, mining, tourism, health, labor, and economic knowledge encapsulated with law and litigation experience gives us an advantage in the legal sphere. Our experience in assisting businesses, government, and various industries with their needs puts us amongst the many progressive and striving law firms in South Africa. Now, to contact our attorneys for assistance with any of the mentioned fields and others, please call us on 012-341-4187 or send us an email on admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated, where problems meet solutions.
We're back again right in Soweto, doing a fundraising program for ANC. We were talking about Bayete, my guest for tonight, Prince Lengoasa, the famous trumpeter from South Africa here, taking us through some paces of where they're coming from on the music journey, sending out the message out there for liberation of the greater African people. So who organized the concert? Where was the concert? What was it all about?
The concert was in Orlando Stadium in Soweto. And it was a fundraiser for the ANC. I know that one of the people that came from up in the continent was Baba Mal.
Wow.
We got to meet his band and, great things that happened. I think Manu Dibango was in another concert further down after this one. But yeah, it was a fundraiser for the ANC. We were, asked, as Bayete was one of the bands that were very active then and carried a great message, with Jabu Kanyele, who used to be the drummer, but later on became the singer and lead singer of the group. Piano player, Mr. Temba Mkhize, a friend of mine.
Wow.
Really great. Great human being. And Johnny Khomo was on guitar, and a number of people. Fana Zulu was on bass.
Yes. No, you cannot. Fana Zulu.
It must be left hand.
It must be left
the
hand.
other way. Okay. Yeah.
I remember.
And on the way between Joburg, Mega Music, picking up the guys, going to Soweto to do that concert, I learned 15 tunes.
15 songs.
15 songs.
On
I
the
had
text.
a piece of paper to write some down, and they were saying, hey, this is the line, write it down, play it a little bit. It's like, yeah, I know it's correct. And that, excuse me. And then we got to the concert, did the concert, 15 tunes.
Any song that pops up in your mind, one of the songs that you did there, on your horn there, any song that you may remember?
Oh, man, you're taking me to another place. There are a number of tunes we did, Shosholos. Wow. Yo, I know you are making me scratch my head for,
now I can see the grey hair is not helping.
I can tell you between 1990 and now, there's so much music that I had to go through, and played with Bayete, as I said, and many other groups. But the guy who used to stand next to me, Mzi Kumalo, instead of showing me the lines, he was showing me dance moves, I remember there's a song, Demazane, Papa Patite, Patotap, and then instead of showing me, he was showing me the moves and not reminding me the lines, But after that concert, which was really packed, the guitarist comes to me and says, hey, we must buy you. I'm like, why? He says, hi. A horn player who plays in tune and can learn so many tunes in one sitting. I know, we must buy you. It's like, okay, I can be part of the band, but nobody can own me per se.
Buy anyone.
But that's part of the contribution that musicians did. doing these fundraiser concerts here in Botswana, in other places, for the liberation struggle. And then, when the liberation comes, we are forgotten.
But start at the bottom.
Right now, I mean, there's COVID. We are some of the people who should be benefiting out of the, fund.
You cannot do anything. You cannot do anything. You cannot be running a concert or being found in a public place. You are locked away totally
absolutely locked away. And instead of saying, okay, we remember your contribution, they want us to fill
maybe
up
the country
forms.
is listening. The country is listening. Even the South African government is listening. What would you want them to do for you as musicians?
Well, I think consideration for musicians needs to happen. I mean, we have made so much contribution to the health of people because of the concerts that we participated in. I know there's I'm for the arts that has spoken very strongly about our rights, but 2 minutes, it's like, okay, there's relief fund. And then once you supposed to get the relief, there are some rules of forms that have to be filled. And then they come back and say, no, you don't qualify, this and that and that. And really, our track record is there. They can find us on CDs, they can find us on YouTube, different things that we have done. And we are members of SAMRO, we are members of different organizations. All that needs to happen is that we recognize your contribution and we can help you with X amount. I know that, only last week I was supposed to fill up a form to take money for a show that is going to happen next year because the show that we're supposed to do this year was postponed. Oh no, did they say postponed or cancelled? Because if it was cancelled, they would pay. But they said it's postponed to 2021. Now I have to take money from 2021 to relieve. It's not relief at all.
Practical. When you get there, what you're going to do?
You see, come
and
next
I mean,
year.
some of these organizations like Bosarel, there are billions of dollars that are stuck there on copyrights and stuff like that. Some of which have not been claimed, some of which people have died. And these organizations will not even make an intention to track these families. If there was an insurance policy of some way in the backdrop of those artists, and then these monies could actually be made available for the artists that are still alive.
I know that Chico was even talking about needle time money, which the SABC has released, which a lot of us have played on, as session musicians, have played on records, whether it's Chico's records or
where you're also doing some lines
where
and
we
stuff.
did, that needle time belongs to the backing artists, the singers, the instrumentalists, and that money is sitting somewhere with people trying some funny things, I mean, it's a time
where
where
black people just have a problem. Once you put them in power and you put money to them, it's like they must squeeze and make it impossible for someone.
Status quo.
There could be a young musician out there, young trumpeter out there, who simply wants to start learning and improving their skills. What would be your 3 main rules from Prince? Lessons on how to play a trumpet and how to develop the skill. What would you be telling a young person who is learning?
Well, the thing is to have a passion for it, when I grew up, there was a book I used to use for trumpet. It says, trumpet playing is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. But as you go on with the system, the inspiration becomes more than the perspiration, so that you have to make time for your instrument. You have to make time to learn your scales. You have to make time to learn songs. You have to make time to learn to play in tune. You have to make time to learn to play on time. And it's dedication. Nothing takes away from that. Dedication, daily practice, and listening to what has been done before. It's like the Sankota thing. Go look back while you are preparing for the future. You cannot, there's no one who has a future who does not know about their past and what is happening presently. I mean, that's a philosophy that even people like Professor Eskia Mpahlela, who they've been turning 100 this year, would preach that we need to look back in order to know where we come from, so that we see where we are and prepare for the future. It is a philosophy that the African people have had for hundreds of years, and we need to get out of the colonial mind and think about where we as a people are heading to. Africa is 4 Africans. These little divisions that we have, which are borders that were made, artificial borders that were made, have to come down. And we need to understand that we are one people.
We are one people.
Yeah. And we come from the same root.
Wow.
And whatever is relevant to me is relevant to my brothers in Ghana, in Nigeria.
We want the same thing, all of us in life.
We all want the same thing.
Anything that is on your plates right now, something that is cooking that we can be waiting for on your space. I know the other day you passed by trying some few little lines on some gospel jazz sort of thing. Is there something you're cooking somewhere?
Well, it's the gospel jazz album that we are cooking, and also, a jazz album speaking to the different things. Now, during my dad's passing, I've been writing a lot of music, with the COVID thing and lockdown. There's a tune titled Lockdown 21, because when it initially came out, it was like 21 days, but now we are on 100 and what? 108,
we are going for,
109,
we're going for next year, now. It will be 2021 now.
So there's a lot of music that has come out of this period, that needs to be recorded and taken out there. People need to hear this music and find some healing out of it. And there are a number of projects. I mean, there's music that we recorded a long time ago with Bra Walter before he passed on, and we never finished. Tracks have been laid down. All we need is money to finish this project so that we can have 50% going to what's a family, and 50% going towards the musicians who participated in this, because I feel that legacy programs need to be there. Bra Walter has done such great work in the arts and culture space, in theatre, writing poems, and he was even honored by the Ghanaians as becoming Nana, which is a big,
title.
Big title. The president of Ghana is Nana also, and so Bra Walter deserves so much honor, and going forward, whatever can be done towards his legacy needs to happen. But also for the musicians who have made this great contribution. Right now is a time where we should be shown the love that we have given we have done selflessly, given of our time and our music, doing concerts for free, like the one I spoke about in Soweto, and other concerts where we deserved so much, but we didn't really get much. Why are we not being considered? Because we are part of the arts and culture space of South Africa. If you talk about music and you don't mention Bayete, you don't mention Sakile, you don't mention, Maponga. Sankota. I played with Sankota on so many recordings. And so needle time needs come. Yes.
I always ask my guests this question with great humor and fun. But I'll throw the question at you also.
Oops.
So fasten up your seatbelt.
Yeah.
This is the question. Prince Lengoasa is now the president of South Africa. What would you do? What would you do differently? Just one or two things that you think you could do.
As a president of the country, that's putting me on the spot.
Honorable President.
Wow. I guess one of the things that I would do is make education free. We have been able to find money for other things that have been happening, and bailing people out, the different parastatals being bailed out over time. Why don't we make sure that every child in this country gets free education?
Wow. You have it for yourself from the Honorable Prince Lengoasa, famous trumpeter himself. If he was a president of South Africa, one thing he would do, he would not bail out parastatals. He would bail out our children and give them education for free. Music and art has remained a way in which African people constantly express themselves. Whether we are dancing for a wedding, we're dancing at a funeral, during the liberation struggle, it could be at a church service, it could be even in the olden days at the battlefront. The battle would not start until a song was found. And it is in the chant of that African music that our blood would start to boil. And we'd lose sight of fear and death. And we would look death straight in the eye, because music and art has that way within the African bloodstream And for that reason, therefore, the people who have lived their lives to express themselves through art and music remain an integral part. There's no wedding, no political party meeting that will take place without a chant and a music and a poem and a drum, a trumpeter and local music. For that reason, music remains an integral part of the African community. And we're here today to celebrate the life of our illustrious trumpeter, Prince Lengoasa from South Africa here, who has played right across the world, who has been on the huge stages. And man, what more can I say? This man has been an inspiration to me. And I would have failed to have run this show. I would have failed to run this show and not invite one of my honorable friends and brother, Prince Lengoasa, to come and share this moment with you. Take us out, take us out. My name is Maponga J. Chigaramboko. Take us out this song. My name is Maponga J. Chigaramboko. Ugaramashamba Huda. Chirara Navana Vevanji. Tiswana Makumbe Mana Mwisendewe Shana. Wanachiramba Kusesera Mponango Kuba. Wane Masha Kumagaro. Magarama Wake Matanda Novora Chiwichitedza Chinukubana Mama. Wanutamba Nacho. Until we see you again. Have yourself a wonderful evening.
The day will come when these measures are no longer needed. Until then, however, we must ensure that all our people receive adequate support. We look ahead to a better future. I have faith in the strength and the resilience of ordinary South Africans who have proven time and time again throughout our history that they can rise to any challenge that is presented to our country. We shall recover. We shall overcome.